The room was filled with tense silence, only broken by the rhythmic sound of the judge's gavel hitting the wooden surface. Standing before him was Marcus Walker, a tall, poised man dressed in a crisp navy suit. His expression was calm, but inside his pulse raced. He wasn't just any ordinary man. In fact, he was the head of the National Security Agency, one of the most powerful positions in the country. Yet here he was, facing accusations from a judge who had no inkling of his true role. Judge Alan Moore, an elderly man known for his strict, no-nonsense approach, had earned a reputation for being uncompromising. His piercing gaze scanned Marcus, judgment written all over his face, as he addressed him with clear disdain. "Marcus Walker," Judge Moore's voice was filled with venom. "You're just a pretender, a faker, trying to trick us all into believing you belong here. You don't even deserve to step foot in this court, let alone be in this country." A soft murmur spread through the room, but Marcus remained unmoved, his face a picture of control. Throughout his life, he had been underestimated because of his background, because of the color of his skin. Time and again, he had proven his doubters wrong, climbing to the top with grit and determination. But today, the stakes were far higher. His reputation, his career, and his very future were hanging in the balance. With unshakable confidence, Marcus spoke. "Judge Moore, I don't think you fully comprehend who you're addressing." The judge sneered, dismissing him. "Oh, I understand perfectly. You think you can pull one over on me. But I've dealt with men like you before. You're no different." Marcus squared his shoulders, locking eyes with the judge. "What you don't know," he said, his voice steady but growing louder, "is that I lead the NSA. I'm the director. This is my realm, not yours." The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. The judge's face drained of color, the weight of Marcus's words sinking in. But his pride wasn't easily broken, and he quickly tried to regain his composure. "Nice try," he scoffed, trying to laugh off the tension. "But I'm not buying it." Just then, the door to the courtroom burst open. A man in a dark suit strode in, holding a sealed envelope. Wordlessly, he approached the judge and handed it to him. The judge's hands trembled as he tore open the envelope, his eyes scanning the contents. As he read, his face slowly shifted from disbelief to shock. The man in the suit spoke up. "Sir, the contents of this letter have been verified. Marcus Walker is indeed the director of the NSA." Judge Moore's face went ashen. He turned to Marcus, his expression now filled with a mixture of fear and regret. What do you want from me?" he stammered, his earlier arrogance gone. Marcus gave a small, knowing smile. "I don't need anything from you, Judge. But you're about to understand why you should never underestimate the wrong person." The judge opened his mouth to respond, but Marcus raised a hand, silencing him. The balance of power had shifted. Marcus now had control, and the courtroom watched in stunned silence. Just as it seemed Marcus had the upper hand, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. The doors to the courtroom slammed open, and a group of men dressed in tactical gear stormed in, weapons drawn. They moved swiftly, surrounding Marcus with military precision. Chaos erupted in the room as the judge's smug demeanor crumbled into confusion. These armed men weren't after the judge. They were after Marcus. The man who seemed untouchable, the highest-ranking official in the nation's security apparatus, was now the target of an even greater threat than he had ever imagined. As the armed men approached, Marcus's mind raced. He had no idea who they were or what they wanted, but it was clear they weren't here for a simple arrest. This was a coordinated operation. Someone powerful had planned this, someone who wanted him out of the picture, no matter the cost. "Get out of the way!" One of the men barked, his tone icy and commanding. Without a moment's hesitation, Marcus sprang into action, narrowly avoiding a gunshot as he dove to the side. The courtroom erupted into chaos. People screamed, panicked, trying to flee. But Marcus was already calculating his next move. His training kicked in, the instincts honed over years of service and intelligence. He couldn't let them take him. Not now. Not when he had come so far. He had to fight back. But just as Marcus was preparing to act, something unbelievable happened. Judge Moore, who had moments earlier been utterly discredited, suddenly reached beneath his desk and pulled out a concealed weapon. The cold steel of the gun glinted as he pointed it straight at Marcus. His finger twitched on the trigger, and then everything went dark. When Marcus regained his senses, everything felt wrong. His head throbbed painfully, and his body was sore, as if he had been struck with a hammer. The flickering light above him did little to soothe his disoriented mind, casting eerie shadows across the strange room. His vision blurred, but he could faintly make out the outline of a cold metal chair in front of him. He blinked hard, trying to clear the fog in his mind, but his arms were tightly bound to the chair. Panic surged within him as his heart raced. Where is he? For a brief, fleeting moment, Marcus wondered if it had all been a bad dream. But the cold bite of the restraints on his wrists confirmed the brutal truth. He took a steadying breath. Stay calm. Think. There was no time to waste. The last thing he recalled was Judge Moore aiming the weapon at him. Had the judge fired? Was he wounded? Marcus moved cautiously, feeling his body. Nothing seemed broken, but there was an aching pain in his side. He had definitely been shot. His thoughts spiraled. Who had rescued him? And who were those armed men who had rushed into the courtroom? A door creaked open behind him, and Marcus immediately tensed. He knew he couldn't afford to be caught off guard. He shifted in his chair as subtly as possible, testing his restraints, attempting to loosen them without making a sound. The footsteps grew louder, and a deep, menacing voice sliced through the silence. Well, looks like someone's finally awake. Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. The voice was unfamiliar, but the tone made it clear. This situation wasn't going to be simple. Who are you? Marcus demanded, his voice steady despite the panic bubbling beneath the surface. What do you want from me? A man in a sleek black suit stepped into view. He was tall, with an expression that could freeze water. As he circled Marcus, he studied him closely, a knowing smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. You really don't know who I am? The man asked, almost mockingly. That's disappointing, Director Walker. Marcus's stomach sank. The man knew his identity. There was no denying it now. But who was this person? And why was he holding him here? Why am I here? Marcus pressed, his voice sharper this time, demanding answers. What do you want from me? The man moved around him slowly, his boots clicking sharply on the concrete floor. His steps echoed, amplifying the eerie stillness of the room. You have something we need, the man said, his voice calm, but with an edge of finality. And you're going to help us get it. Marcus frowned, the confusion in his mind deepening. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything you want. The man stopped directly behind him, leaning in close, his breath cold against Marcus's ear. Oh, you have something? He whispered. You just don't know it yet. Marcus's heart pounded as the man's words echoed in his mind. What could he possibly have that these people wanted? He was the head of the NSA, sure, but he didn't have any classified information he could just hand over. He had no idea what they were referring to. Why don't you tell me exactly what I have? Marcus asked, his voice gaining strength, despite the tightness in his chest. The man smirked, clearly enjoying the suspense. Patience, Director Walker. You'll understand soon enough. Marcus strained against the restraints, trying to think. His FBI training, his tactical instincts, all kicked into overdrive. His mind raced with possibilities. Who were these people? What was their game? And how could he turn the tables? Suddenly, the door creaked open again. This time, it wasn't the same man who entered. The room grew colder as another figure stepped inside. A woman, tall and sharp-eyed, her posture commanding. Is he ready? She asked, glancing at the man in the suit. The man nodded. He's just about to realize what he's truly up against. Marcus watched them carefully. His mind was working furiously. Whoever these people were, they had the means to orchestrate something big. They weren't ordinary criminals. They were a threat on a much larger scale. With renewed determination, Marcus refused to let them break him. Whatever they wanted, he would find a way to outsmart them. They might have captured him, but they underestimated one thing. He wasn't just any ordinary man, and he wasn't about to let them win. The game had just begun.